On this week's episode, it is back to school time, so I figured what better time to dive into the continuity and timeline of the classic trauma series, The Class of Newcomb High. I didn't know whether or not to put this under sci-fi timelines, action timelines, comedy timelines, horror timelines. It's got a little bit of everything, so I asked you guys and you overwhelmingly voted for it to be a horror timeline, so here it is at your discretion. The only thing I could think of more horrifying than the class of Newcomb High is sending kids back to school with 4 million corona cases. Class begins back in 1986 with The Class of Newcomb High, co-directed by Lloyd Kaufman, although under a pseudonym. It's once again set in Tromaville, the same town that Toxie lives in, although this is presumably a different continuity. The mayor is here, but in this movie he's the head of a power plant that leaks goo to a nearby school with some interesting looking students. My high school looked nothing like this. My middle school maybe. Both Bozo and Slug are here as punks, and yet another nerdy kid jumps out a window, but instead of becoming a toxic hero, this one just melts. Warren and Chrissy are our main characters here, and you can identify them by the matching jackets they wear that have their names on them. Radiation has turned the school's honor society into a bunch of cretins, and when the couple smokes contaminated weed at a dance that features a live show by the Smithereens no less, and then they have sex, there's side effects. Warren becomes a sort of a toxic avenger, while Chrissy just vomits up a slug monster thing. The school gets this Chekhov's gun, laser cannon, and the slug starts to grow and kill. The cretins decide to take over the school and kidnap Chrissy, and Warren has to go save her. The slug thing is now fully grown, though, and starts to kill anyone in its path, like the cretins, including Man Boobs, Ring Nose Guy, Chicken Head Guy, Hitler Woman, and of course, Spike. Warren blasts it with the laser, causing it to explode, taking the school with it. We never get a date in this one, but I guess the clothes, hair, and cars will let us know that real time makes sense, so we're going to go with 1986. A sequel arrived 5 years later in 1991 with Class of Newcomb High 2 SubHumanoid Meltdown, which was not directed by Lloyd Kaufman, although he did contribute to the script. It starts by recapping the first film and letting us know that it took place in 1986, so that's confirmed, and the school has been rebuilt as well as a junior college, where everyone just wears bikinis for some reason if they're women, and Mad Max Wasteland Warrior wear if they're men. We meet our hero Roger Smith, who tells us that the school has a gang called the Squirrels, led by Yoke, and Roger signs up for a sex experiment headed up by Lisa Gay, Trauma Regular. And what the hell is up with Roger's hair? It's short, and it's got like this 80s feathered thing happening, but then he's got a little ponytail in the back. It's like the worst mullet variation that I've ever seen. He's paired up with Victoria, who has a mouth in her belly button, because she's a subhumanoid created to be a sex slave. Toxie shows up randomly, although he looks absurdly skinny. The subhumanoids are mixed into the school, but they randomly melt down while an alien thing erupts from their bellies. Roger discovers her secret and has to enter the facility to try and rescue her, and I love that the subhumans all have this green goop on their heads that conveniently cover all the spots that are coincidentally where you would find the seams for a bald cap. Meanwhile, a squirrel goes into a vat of toxic waste and starts to grow, while one of the little alien things talks to Roger, and they round up a bunch of other students to attack the reactor. Tromi reaches giant size and starts kaiju crushing, Dean Okra is killed, and chaos breaks out everywhere. This is actually my favorite thing in this whole movie. How do you save your footage where your stuntman's burn protection is visible?
Not even the chairman of the Tromaville Savings and Loan, who had donned a ski mask in order to complete the pillaging of the SNL's funds.
That's how. Victoria takes the antidote to prevent melting down, but the rest of the subs melt, and it ends on a cliffhanger with Tromi still on the loose. 3 years later, the same team reunited to give us Class of Newcomb High Part 3, The Good, the Bad, and the Subhumanoid, which picks up right at the ending of the last film, with Tromi still on the loose. It says that the school was blown up just a few short years ago, making it most likely that Part 2 took place in real-time 91, and then we meet Adlai Smith, son of Roger, who is half subhumanoid and is 2 years old, so we're at least 2 years away from the last one, depending upon how long subs gestate. Yoke is dead and replaced as gang leader by his little brother, Little Egg White. And Holt is still alive, and in flashback we find out that Adlai was conceived right at the ending of the last one, and since sub-babies are a power source, the corporation will be after him. So we're probably about 2 years and 9 months later, so it's probably sometime in 1993, and Victoria gives birth and the corporation steals it. But it turns out that it's twins, but Victoria also dies, and the other baby is named Dick, and they both grow very quickly. 2 years later, the school is rebuilt again, and Adlai is dating Trish, and everyone just looks bizarre now. Evil Dick is basically just a Dolph Lundgren Punisher, and I hope you're ready for jokes about his name being Dick, because they're pretty non-stop. Speaking of dicks, Ron Jeremy is here, and Adlai's hand has magical glowing powers that he uses to save the town. And Roger is now the mayor. And does any of this sound like a plot? Because it's just a bunch of stuff that happens one after the other with no semblance of any through storyline. Dick and the mutants start attacking people, blaming Adlai, and I can't believe I've gotten this far and haven't mentioned Trish's hair yet because it's just an accomplishment. Adlai and Dick are reunited, and there's one genuine laugh out loud moment.
You'll never get me to do it. Ooh, except that way.
There's a big fight, and Dick double-crosses Slag, and the two arm wrestle until they melt down and become an egg that they then use to power the city. Wait 1 minute. I'm just gonna read over that. Yep. Yeah, I actually wrote that. That's what happens. The brothers become a baby named Mushy, and they promise class of Newcomb High 4. Well, that never happened, and things stayed unnuked for 19 years until 2013's Return to Newcomb High Volume 1, with Lloyd returning to the helm. A Stan Lee voiceover recaps things and again places the first film in '86, and it quickly skips over Part 2 and 3. We find out that the nuclear plant is gone, replaced by an organic food farm, with Lloyd as the chairman. He talks to President Lemmy, which doesn't sound too bad right about now, and we meet this version of Chrissy and new student Lauren. Chrissy has an environmental blog that tells us it's 2013 now, and at first she and Lauren seem to hate each other, and the events of the original start to repeat, like the nerd melting down, and then the Glee Club is transformed by the food to become the new Cretins. They shoot a car, causing it to do the infamous trauma flip, and after the Cretins rape Laura's mouth with a duck? It's complicated? Chrissy and Lauren end up falling in love with each other, but with green toxic goo involved. They don't want to tell people that they're gay though, because they say that Tromaville isn't tolerant of homosexuality, but like, have they actually ever seen a Troma movie? Tromaville's been LGBT friendly since the 80s. The girls mutate, Lauren becomes pregnant while Chrissy grows a giant penis, and then they go get revenge against the Cretins. I probably can't show you most of this, but Lauren's baby erupts at one point, and Cigar Face pops in along with Roger Smith, Victoria, and Dr. Holt. They have the laser from the original movie, and it ends with a to be continued. Not even really on a cliffhanger, and there's really no resolution, it just kinda ends. Which was frustrating because it took 7 years to get to Part 2, with Return to Newcomb High, aka Volume 2. And even though it's been playing festivals and small screenings since 2017, it was just released a little while ago to the home market. It starts with a tribute to the deceased Lemmy and Troma staple Joe Flyshaker, and Stanley is back for another recap to depress me even more. Lemmy is still president, and we're set right after the last one, so this is still 2013, as the two films were mostly shot at the same time. Lauren has a mutant baby because of the duck thing, and the chicken bunker from Poultrygeist makes an appearance. Kevin the Duck mutates into this thing, and it's revealed that Chrissy's father is actually Warren from the first film, and he changed his name to Herzkoft and is now the head of the organic food plant. Oh, and the slug thing that Chrissy spit up in the original is now this Chrissy. They say it took her 25 years to get through high school, although that's 2011, so I'm guessing he's approximating. And then pretty high up on a list of things that I really didn't want to see, but I guess I have to do anyhow. Lloyd Kaufman doing the Goodbye Horses dance. Meanwhile, the meltdowns spread around the world, and there's posters for 2015 cons, but ignore that, I think. And I guess Herzkov has to take in young people's farts to stay young because, trauma, and runs out just as the cretins take over the school and kidnap Lauren and the baby. Lloyd turns into a monster, and Mark Torgel, the original Melvin, makes a cameo, and so does Lloyd's wife, who, believe it or not, is the executive director of the New York State Governor's Office for Motion Picture and Television Development. Herzkopf is now a full monster and starts slaughtering the school, and Kevin the Duck starts killing cretins, and the car flip happens again, oddly enough sneaking in some footage from Romeo and Juliet. Ron Jeremy cameos again as God, and after Kevin and Herzkopf fight, they blast him with the laser, which causes him to explode, as well as the school. A mid-credit scene shows Chrissy 1 month later, and it's Joe Fleischaker, in what I'm assuming was his final role in what appears to be a hospital bed, and between that, Lemmy, and Stan Lee, this movie's just really depressing. So there you have it. It's 5 movies with very spotty continuity. The first movie kind of stands on its own. Parts 2 and 3 are linked, but not really. A little bit, but they have their own continuity. And then the 2 most recent entries, the Return to Newcomb High series, they have their own continuity. And even though they reference things from the first movie, it's pretty clear that it's kind of a separate continuity from that, because some of the things don't really relate properly. So it's sort of its own continuity. Should you watch these? I don't know. The first one you should. The first one's great. I love the first one. Class of Newcomb High, the original one, is fun. It's classic trauma. It's exactly what you would expect trauma to be. Parts 2 and 3 are that whole 90s trauma, much like Toxic Avenger 2 and 3 has that kind of just badness to them. I didn't much enjoy those ones. And the 2 new ones, they're okay. It's a little bit of a step down for trauma. I enjoy their films. These ones just kind of felt like a little more try-hard than some of the other ones, so I was not as crazy of them as I was with some of the more recent trauma entries, like the most recent Toxic Avenger movie, of course, Romeo and Juliet being, I guess it's kind of hard to call that recent, but it is one of the better ones. And it's just kind of like a little bit down on the quality spectrum for me. I kind of hope whatever they do next will be a return to form of quality and not just gross out, because these just felt like how much can we be gross out and absurd, but without that actual quality that trauma used to have a little bit. I know some of you guys might disagree with me that there was quality there, but I feel like there was. Well, anyhow, that's about it for this week's video. Let me know down below what you thought of these ones. Let me know what you thought of the Class of Newcomb High movies. Let me know what you thought of this video. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Check out the patrons, because these guys help keep the channel going. Thank you for that, guys. And I want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you in a little while for another great video. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.